The man with all the charm of a Tesco's line manager has stated that he intends to rule Britain for the next 10 years.
You've talked about a decade of national renewal. Do you want to be Prime Minister for a decade if that's what the electorate wants?
Oh, I want to see that through. It's my phrase.
You serve a decade?
Of course.
It's a long old time to be a Prime Minister.
It is, but those are my chosen words. A decade indicates how long I think it's going to take for the fundamental change, which will see a country transformed, and that years later people will be able to look back and say, that was a real game-changing government.
Firstly, the only reason this damp rag stands any chance of getting in number 10 is because the Tory vote has completely fallen apart. And secondly, what on earth does he mean by transformation? Keir Starmer is an out-and-out, bona fide, paid-up Blairite. All he's going to do is continue exactly what the Tories have done for the last 15 years and Blair before that. So when Starmer says transformation, all I can think he means is just continuing the trend of yet more mass immigration from the third world, more woke policies that demean Europe and Great Britain, and a continuation of globalist neoliberal economics. Yeah, let's be honest, after a year or two of Starmer, all the idiots who think voting for him is a good idea will figure out pretty quickly that they're just getting more of the Tories and worse. Now, once this happens, the populists will start to look for an alternative, and that alternative will be Nigel Farage. That's obviously his strategy: destroy the Tories and become the leader of the British right now, and at the election after next, try and aim for number 10. Now, while it's a good thing that Reform UK will destroy the Tory party, I'm still not sure they're a good thing in the long-term future. This is because the battle of our time is not Farage versus Starmer, it's not Labour versus Tory, it's not even Britain versus the EU, it's the globalists versus the nation state. There is a reason why there is a mass movement of third world people being moved into every single Western nation. It's not just the supposed quote-unquote compassion of blue-haired brainwashed idiots, it's also because it suits the interests of international finance capital. It's worth remembering that while Farage has some traditional instincts with regard to society and culture, when it comes to economics, he's fundamentally just a neoliberal Thatcherite. That sort of economics may have given Britain a boost in the 80s, but in this day and age, it will play straight into the globalist system. And this leads us to the biggest question facing us in this century. Is anything more important than money? I mean, just think about how it's always money that drives the globalist agenda. They state things such as, you need mass immigration to keep your economy buoyant. And next they use their hordes of brainwashed minions to enforce the message, telling us to embrace diversity and equity, and that tolerance is the best virtue. Yet, of course, as many people are noticing, a mass movement of people coming from the third world isn't making London and Paris all the more beautiful. In fact, in most places, it seems to be degrading it to the state of the third world. And of course, notice any of this, less still have the temerity to mention any of it, and you'll be told that this is all your fault anyway for being a colonizer, for not believing in the progressive ideology, and also, of course, for not being tolerant enough in the first place. So our political leaders and the globalists don't want us to wake up and ask the very big questions of our time, such as, what do we want Europe to be? We who've inherited this great continent, this great tradition, have a right on making that call. In my eyes, it's a very simple choice. We either become homogenized batteries for the globalist system, or we stand and struggle for the history and the future of this great continent. These are just my thoughts, however. Do let me know what you think down below, and do consider subscribing to the channel.